Hello. Two copies of Hole's Celebrity Skin. To be honest, I can't even remember why I have two copies. I don't know if I bought it knowing that I had two copies. I don't like the album enough to do that, so I think maybe I did it accidentally, but I actually have no memory of doing so. Like I knew I had two copies. Sometimes I went there and just found out just now, but I can't remember the actual process of buying the second copy or what happened. But anyway, they were both only would have been about 50 cents or $1 each. Um, you can see. I don't know. Is that one more sun faded or just they used a different tone of pink red on some editions? Looks to be exactly the same in every other way. Um, so Hole. I don't think I really need to introduce who Hole are. Most people know who Hole are. I was thinking, there was a period there where they were relatively big. I guess lived through this through Celebrity Skin. About a 5 year period. They were pretty popular and they did pretty well commercially as well. Not massive or anything, but and I think they have some good songs. And I think in general this is a pretty good album. However, not as good as Live Through This. I think Live Through This is a overall better album. I like the sound of Live Through This. I like the I don't know, the is it the production? I know that this album was produced by Michael Beinhorn, who is who's produced some great stuff. It's not as I'm saying he's a bad producer at all, but he's quite a I don't know how would you say, not overproduced or anything like that, but yeah, I don't know. So just some of the works he's done. He's worked with the Chili Peppers quite a lot earlier on. Ozzy Osbourne, Osmosis, which is not a great album. Soundgarden, Super Unknown, of course. Marilyn Manson, Mechanical Animals, The Verve Pipe, Untouchables, Korn. So yeah, I think that if you know anything about Korn, that Untouchables album is known as being a very produced album. So I'm not saying overproduced, but it's a very produced album. And if you listen to it, you can hear that kind of stands out amongst the other Korn albums as being. You can really hear the production in it. It's very clean sounding. And maybe you could even say the same about Super Unknown, probably my favorite album of all time. Is that the production is cleaner than all the other Soundgarden stuff, and maybe that's Michael Beinhorn's signature as a clean sound. Also, a very full sound. But anyway, I don't know enough about production to really talk about it in depth, so maybe I should stop. But yeah, so just looking at the condition. These both looking good. The condition. This one's got a crack on the side here. You can see a few scratches on that. Look at that. There's quite a big one there, isn't there? Let's see if this one's any better. Oop, that one's missing a hinge. If this has got a better, okay, it's got that. That's better. There's a kind of something I can wipe off there. That's much better. See, I think I've talked about that before. Those different, on the jewel case, the different little things that keep the CD in place, where they switched to this in the later 90s, but obviously not with all releases because this one doesn't have that. Whereas these gets broken so easily. So many of my CD jewel case discs have got broken teeth. Whereas these ones, it's much harder for the teeth to be broken, to get broken. And it's almost you wonder why didn't they come up with that innovation earlier? Because all through the 90s was just a tragedy of broken teeth on CDs. And once those teeth are broken, the CD slips around in there and gets scratched up a lot easier. And it's just, if it's flipped over the other way, the CD falls out. It's just a pain in the ass. Whereas this one here, it's secured. It doesn't fall out as much at all. So in this period, Hole were Melissa Auf der Moor, of course Courtney Love, Paddy Schmeel, I think is the pronunciation of that. Let me just check. I think it'll be more Schimmel, maybe Schimmel. And Eric Erlandson. So obviously Courtney Love and Eric Erlandson had been in the band since the beginning. I think they were the two founders. Melissa Auf der Moor, who would go on to be in the Smashing Pumpkins after this, and she was also in, I think she's in a few other bands as well. Was she in Perfect Circle for a period? No. Maybe she was. But anyway, she replaced, was it Kristen Davis, the former bassist who unfortunately died of an overdose in about 1994. Kristen Pfaff. Why did I say Kristen Davis? Who's Kristen Davis? I think that's like an actress or something. About 6 months ago, I read Paddy Schimmel's autobiography. I think she wrote it herself, which I recommend. It's a very open, raw, and honest account, not just of her time in Hole, but her quite terrible drug addiction and kind of downward spiral of her life, especially kind of after she became famous. She really went through it, and this album actually has a part to do with that. Now, I read it a while ago now, so I can't remember all the ins and outs, and I might kind of get some of the chronological order out of order, but she was kind of introduced to Courtney Love through Kurt Cobain, and she became the drummer of Hole, and then she was like all of that, obviously, I think everyone in that, or not everyone, but a lot of people in that scene were dabbled in heroin and more than dabbled, obviously. And, Kristen Pfaff died of an overdose, and Kurt Cobain died shot himself, but obviously had major heroin issues. And Courtney Love had problems with it as well. But Patty, the drummer, she kind of was back and forth in addiction, kind of through different stages of sobriety and addiction. That's a pretty bad cough, eh? And she, whatever happened, I can't go through every part, but basically when it came to this album, she wasn't in the best condition. But then also the producer, Michael Beinhorn, didn't like her drumming, or felt her drumming was not crisp, or, was not good enough to be on the album. And so he wanted to bring in a session drummer, which they did. And the session drummer drummed on, I'm pretty sure, almost all of the album. Even though Paddy got credit, he was actually drumming, whoever it was. And I think she felt, obviously, quite slighted by that, and that together with her ongoing drug problems, she quit the band. I'm not sure, from my memory, I don't think she was, I think Courtney Love was more than willing to have her in the band on tour and all that kind of stuff, but you can see she's in the photo as well. But she didn't want her drumming on the album. She agreed with the producer. So yeah, the actual album itself, the music, the two big singles, I think the only two singles were Celebrity Skin. It was a very, again, very clean sounding hard rock, late 90s sounding rock song. Quite catchy, got a good hook. The other one was Malibu, which I like more. But again, quite a departure from, well, I guess actually not Malibu so much, but the album in general, I think it's quite a departure from Live Through This. It's a lot more up, a lot more major chords, um, a lot more kind of straight ahead rock songs, pop rock songs. The songs that I like Hit So Hard, Reasons to Be Beautiful. I like Malibu as well. I like Northern Star. Boys on the Radio is okay. I like Playing Your Song. Playing Your Song is probably my favorite song on the album, and I like Petals. Those last two songs. Now, as you may or may not know, Courtney Love actually didn't write very much. She wrote the lyrics, but she didn't write a lot of the actual music. And the person who did was Billy Corgan. Billy Corgan was involved with a lot of the music writing, and so he gets a credit. Billy Corgan gets a credit on Celebrity Skin, the single, Hit So Hard, Malibu, Dying, and Petals. And then the rest of them are, it's a combination of Courtney Love, Eric Erlandson, and Melissa Alftamore. She features in a few of them as well. And there's another guy as well, Jordan Zadoronsny. So yeah, Billy Corgan helped out. Billy Corgan was Courtney Love's former ex-boyfriend. I don't know exactly when. Was it? I think yeah. Was it before she was with Kirk, or after, or both? I can't actually remember. But yeah, I kind of feel I'm not really giving anything to this. Just kind of rambling on. It's not a bad album. I actually think it's actually pretty good. It sold pretty well. It was their best performing album. It sold a couple of million around the world, I think. It went top 10 in the US album charts, top 20 in a few other countries. And it got a decent reviews, you know, kind of 3.5 to 4 out of 5 kind of area for most things. 9 out of 10 from Spin, 4 out of 5 from Rolling Stone. And they see this description here. Robert Cherry of the Alternative Press describes Celebrity Skin's sound as meticulously orchestrated guitars, multi-layered vocal harmonies, quantized drums, and sheeny studio magic. That's kind of what I'm talking about there, as in the very produced sound. Whereas formerly Hole were kind of a, you know, they had a quite a raw punk edge to their sound. Not sure who produced Live Through This, but it's, yeah, you can hear there was definitely a conscious decision to change that sound and the songwriting sound as well, to make it I don't know, appeal to a wider audience or whatever. Courtney Love always seemed to have some sort of kind of itch to gain mainstream stardom. You know, she went through that period where she was acting in movies and stuff like that, and you don't really hear much from her nowadays. I guess, you know, that's what happened to women of a certain age. It's kind of hard to maintain that fame. Uh, and there's also, I guess, you could talk a little bit about the popular idea of Courtney Love, or how she was perceived by people. I mean, there was quite a lot of hate towards her. To me, I never really bought into that whole thing, or she killed Kirk or anything like that. But she always did seem to be a bit of a leech. And whenever I even like when I saw videos of her, you remember there was that Nirvana sold out live tonight video they released, VHS, probably on DVD nowadays. I don't know. I think they released it just shortly after he died, maybe like in 95, 96. And it was like live footage of them playing and just kind of just bits and pieces of different things, like their performance on TV shows and things. And she was in that a little bit. You'd see her like from time to time. And I was just, something about it, it's like, ugh. She had like quite like a distasteful personality, as in like, very abrasive. And she just looked like, I don't know, looked like she didn't wash. Maybe that's what turned me off. And then the things she said after Kurt died and the things she did, I don't know. Of course, like how are we to say, or am I to say about like someone who loses their husband in such a tragic way? There was actually, that's right. In that Patty Schimmel biography, she talks about Courtney, I think quite truthfully, but also she doesn't denigrate her in any way. Even when she's kind of forced out of the band, Courtney's kind of portrayed as almost like this distant, almost like mothering figure, like a queen or something. But not. I'm not saying like, wow, she's the queen. She's the most. But the way that Patty Schimmel kind of portrays her, or the way that she writes her within the narrative of her life story, kind of comes across in that way. Like she's very distant, but almost like omnipotent. But anyway, there was a period, I can't remember, must have been between Live Through This and Celebrity Skin, where maybe they were rehearsing or putting out some kind of release. And Courtney came to the band with what would be the Nirvana song "You Know You're Right." The one that was released quite a long time after Kirk died in the early 2000s. And she didn't lie and say, "Oh, this is my song." She said this is a song that Kirk wrote, but it was never released or anything. Let's use it for our band. And so they rehearsed it, and everyone in the band, Eric Erlandson and Patty and whoever else, felt really uneasy and just yuck about using the song. They didn't want to use it because Patty was Kirk's friend. She knew Kirk before she knew Courtney, and she had been affected by his death as well. And I think Eric Erlandson considered Kurt Cobain to be a friend as well. And even if they weren't friends, just the idea of taking a recently deceased person's beloved cultural figure song and then playing it themselves. And then she said she didn't know this until later, until the song was released, in its finished form. They released on that Greatest Hits collection, didn't they, in about 2002 or whatever. She said, 2003. She said Courtney had changed the chorus to "Hey," the long pain, that part that Kurt does, really drawn out. He's saying pain, and Courtney changed it to "Hey, hey," which sounds ridiculous, but kind of takes away from the whole, I don't know, meaning and point of the song. The song really is like it's a very super raw in the emotion of, he's just saying pain. The whole chorus is pain. He's just saying pain. Also, people always taking that song to be about Courtney Love. Kurt is singing about her. If you listen to the lyrics, you can hear he's talking about someone. You will move away from here. Basically saying that, we can end this and you can go away and you're not so great anyway, and I feel so much pain. And so when Patty Schimmel heard the final version, she felt like even worse. She was like, "Oh, thank God we didn't record that song or release it, because that." she's a good storyteller, and like I said, I recommend that. And she's now doing a lot better. She's however 10 years at least, probably more than that, sober, and she seems to be a lot happier in her life. I watched some interviews with her and her book tour, and I follow her on Instagram, and she certainly seems to be have at a much better place in her life. But yeah, we'll leave it there. Holes celebrity skin. Thank you.